1. Welcome everyone to Ed Talk TV, conversations worth having. I hope you're having a fantastic Friday. I'm just going to check the volume real quick, so bear with me for just a second because, you know, this is what we got to do. We got to be able to see and hear what's going on. Perfect. Picture looks great. Wow, that is really good picture. I even impressed myself. What can I say? Anyway, I am going live via a program that allows me to use my computer, and I have a whole setup. And today I'm actually doing this beta option, so I kind of just lost my windows. So bear with me. While you guys are tuning in, feel free to say hello, share in the comments where you're at and what you're up to. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this to show back up so that I can see your comments, because that's the whole reason why I did this. So today is going to be fun. We're going to be talking about how to get debt-free and pursue your dreams. We're going to have a special guest, and I am just taking a look to see where I can find any options to see the windows here. So bear with me there while you guys comment in the chat there. And see, we all have tech glitches here and there. And I was actually ready, by the way. I had everything set up for you guys. And then once I went live, it disappeared. So that's just what happens. So what are you guys up to today? How is everyone's week going? Did you have a good week? Let me see. I can turn it off there and turn it back on. Darn, it won't show me your comments on there. Okay, well, I have the phone for backup, and that is okay. Can you guys hear me? Pretty good. Jason, I'll never be debt-free, disabled, and live on a limited income. That's okay. Sometimes that's just how it goes. We know that we still have to make those payments, and that's okay. Hopefully there'll be some tips here that will allow you to make that not so hard when you have to write those checks or do those bank transfers and things like that. So awesome. I'm going to click through on a couple things here, try to get this to show up, but it's not showing up, so that's okay. All right, so welcome everyone. How this works is I encourage you to jump into the comments, to share, show some emojis, not just likes. That was before 2018. We're past the likes. And even if you're watching the replay, definitely jump into the comments. We call that the after party when it's the replay. It's fun. You get to see other people. You get to connect with each other. And I'll be over there jumping into the comments with you guys as well. So before we get started, just to let you know, if you do want to be a guest on the show, you can always head over to checkwithed.com after this. Click on the Facebook Live tab, and that will bring you to the show notes. I say show notes, the page about the show, and it also has a guest request form there. I also put a link to the Facebook Live, going live on Facebook, and the Facebook Creator Training that we had this past week. That replay is now available, and I put a link on that page, including the technology that I actually use here to go live and kind of get crazy with all of this stuff, right? So that's all there for you. If you notice, there's my shirt today. Help me help you. So let's do some random news before we bring on our guest today. I like to, go over what's going on in the internet world and what's around. So let me see if I can memorize the keys here. I got to write these down because I can't see them, and even though it says that it's there. So the reason why I can't see them, by the way, is because I'm using a program called Ecamm Live, which has been amazing, and it's great. I have the full version, which I've been using, but today I wanted to try the beta version because they're allowing you to now comment directly on the screen versus me having to look down on my phone. Before I'd have to actually comment just on the phone. So that's why I'm using the beta version, but as we know with beta, there's glitches, which we can tell right now because I can't actually see your comments on the screen, which is why I have to look down, and I don't have my normal screen options. So I'm going to go ahead and write them down on my little notepad here while you guys while you guys comment below. And then this is why it's important to pay attention to your setup and to kind of know. And this is what happens when you go live. Even if you have a show and have been doing it for 26 days now, officially, things always happen, and it's just you. So don't worry about it. Like, don't sweat the small stuff. We have some people that were here yesterday. If you are watching the replay, I still want to know, are you doing that 5-day challenge we talked about last night when we had our guest Chrissy on? We had a 5-day challenge that we wanted you to take part in. If you wanted to, of course, we encourage you to. That way you can plan out 5 days of just going live. It could be on whatever topics you want. It's just to get you in that zone, to get you more comfortable and feeling that you can do it, and knowing that it's okay. It's not as scary as it seems. And if you do it for 5 days straight, it's kind of like, okay, I can do this. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my screen here in just a second. Screen and guest. See, that was awesome. Okay, cool. So let's switch over to random news. Now, I know we mentioned this on the show, and you've probably heard all about this. It's one of those things that I don't understand. Any teenagers that are watching this, well done, number one, if you're watching this, because you're going to learn a lot, even if you go watch previous episodes. But I just don't get why you guys are doing this. And I'm not that old. This just doesn't make any sense. So let me go ahead and look at my notes here, and boom. Okay, so we know that there's this whole Tide Pod thing going on. It's crazy, it's ridiculous. I don't understand it. Well, there is somebody who is taking it the next step and creating a box of chocolates that are actually edible, supposedly, for Valentine's Day. Now, I'm not down for this. I don't think this is a great thing to be promoting. Honestly, I think it's bad publicity, to be honest, if you're promoting things like this, because it's just dangerous, and it's a challenge that makes no sense whatsoever. So anyway, that's some random news for you there. Other random news, which I think is really cool, Jack White is actually going to be having no cell phones at his next concert. So I don't know how many of you guys, and let me know in the chat as well if you're watching the replay, but how many of you guys go to a concert and whip out your phone and start recording, right? You probably want to snap a quick Snapchat if you're on there, or go on Instagram Live or Facebook Live and show all your friends because, it's cool, you're there, you're enjoying it, but you're living it through your phone. Well, not so much. The industry is starting to slowly change. A lot more people are jumping on the bandwagon. What I love about this is this part here. Quote, "We think you'll enjoy looking up from your gadgets for a little while and experience music and our shared love of it in person." Like, that is so powerful, and that's what we talk about, right? That's why Facebook's making this huge shift. That's why the magic happens in the comments. It's because we need to make sure that, and this is a slightly different because I'm talking about online and they're talking about in person, but the connection piece is what I'm getting at here, is that we want to connect with each other. And if you're at a live event, like a concert, the only way that you can connect with that artist and the people around you is if you put your phone down, right? If you stop trying to live through your phone, and if you stop trying to be, the cool kid on the block because you're at the concert and you're streaming to all your friends because you want to get all the likes and the loves and the shares, right? So that's the real life world. And then when you come on to online, you have to pay attention to the comments. You have to engage with each other and really be there for one another and support each other. Hey, Tammy, welcome. So you want to make sure that you're having that human connection both in person and online, right? A lot of online now is starting to shift back to the basics, which is join the conversation, which we know, if we look back at history, that's what originally was stated for the social media world. Facebook and Twitter, the biggest tagline that they had was join the conversation on Facebook, join the conversation on Twitter. That was the big one, and then we kind of lost it from there. So just be present. Yes, Tamara, be present in the moment. Exactly. So just keep that in mind to be present where you are. Oh, perfect. I can see my comments now on the screen. For those just joining, I'm testing out a beta program. It's still Ecamm, but I'm able to now, watch this. I'm going to do this. Watch this. Yes. That just came from my computer. Perfect. Okay, cool. So anyway, that's the thing. Got a little excited there, but really it's that human connection, right? And when you start paying attention to that with your business online, and you start utilizing your Facebook business page, your groups, and you go in with that mindset, you're going to see things change. It's going to take time, don't get me wrong, but it's going to make sense and it's going to work. So there's that. And now, just for fun fact, Facebook today announced that they're donating $1 million towards supporting diversity in journalism. They're going to give scholarships away. They want to try to, basically beef up, or I don't know if beef up is the right word, but really they want to get help and support to kind of stand out. So there's that. Now, before we jump into today's content, we will end random news with this clip, because I know you guys are probably going to go out this weekend and party. I want to make sure you guys don't do this. So let me go ahead and share this with you real quick before we jump over. And pop. Oh, there we go. Yeah, nobody wants that. That's a party fail. So don't be doing that this weekend. Try to stay away from having all of that happen. Perfect. Welcome everyone jumping in. Love it. I'm going to go ahead and pop my screen back over. Let's see if I can get you guys back on. Boom. Hopefully. My computer's a little slow because it's doing all of these things. There we go. Perfect. So that's your random news for today. Now, what I'm going to do, and I'm so excited I can see your comments. Hey, Tammy. I have a Cami that I work with as well. So that's why I was like, there we go. Perfect, you guys. Awesome. So jump into the comments if you haven't already. Tell people where you're from, what you do, because it's not just me that you're having the conversation with, right? It's everyone else who's here live as well as afterwards. Remember, the replay viewers are so important that you pay attention to, because they're the ones who are going to catch this live. I have people still texting me today, and I say texting, but it's commenting on last night's episode, saying, hey, Ed, I'm catching it while I'm in the car, listening. I'm almost through. Like, this is awesome. Those things are cool. And then I keep following up with you. So keep that going. Whitney, what's happening? Yes, Whitney's awesome. And pay attention to that. By the way, all of those who were here yesterday, hint, hint, we mentioned about your 5-day challenge. So hopefully you're working on that and going through there. Missouri, yes, perfect, Tammy, excellent. And let me go ahead and put that in there. Cool. So how about we talk about today's content, huh? We are going to bring on a special guest, which I'm really excited, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that comment right on here. I'm the guest for today. Yes, you are, Melissa. So how this works is I'm going to go ahead and phone Melissa. Isn't it cool? I love when that happens. So I'm going to switch over. I'm going to go ahead and give her a call, and then we're going to switch over to my screen and see if this works. Well, let me get this also there. And it will be just a minute. I'm going to put in my earbuds to make it a little bit easier for us too. Hello.
Hi, it's Melissa. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. This is super cool.
Isn't this fun? I love it.
Super fun.
So before I have you introduce yourself and share with everyone, I just want to let everyone know who's watching, and even replay viewers, this is how it works when I bring on guests. You can apply over at checkwithed.com, and it's just a guest request form. And then from there, you might be able to be on the show here and talk about what you do, how it came about, and all of that. So if this is your first time joining, definitely check out the Facebook Live tab on Check with Ed, because it has previous episodes and all the information you need here. But this is where it really gets exciting, because you don't have to listen to me the whole time. You get to listen to other people and how we have that natural engagement, right? So keep talking to yourselves in the comments, keep talking to us in the comments, because that's how it works. And I love that you guys are, Aisha, perfect, are talking to each other and telling each other where you're at and all of that. I just discovered you through my friend Melissa. Awesome. Tamara, perfect. See, this is what's cool. And then I can put your comments on the screen. So that's the beauty of it. All right. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then we'll go from there.
Okay, awesome. So it's great to see so many of my friends here joining us this I say this evening because it's 7:00 Eastern Standard Time. So no, it's a different. We're talking in different time zones this evening. But I live in southeastern North Carolina with my husband Jack and our 2 boys and our 4 rescue dogs.
Nice.
And I'm going to let me see, because I know this is a new thing for me, and I've got there's a delay going on. So let me just get the Skype thing.
And that's totally fine, because with you and I, it definitely is going, it's going streamlined, and then there's a slight delay that goes to Facebook, just so you guys know as well. So if you're watching on Facebook, if Melissa, you're watching on Facebook, you'll see there's a little delay, but with us, it's just straight normal. So that's...
Yep, now I'm good. So what I needed to do was make Skype bigger and make Facebook smaller.
Yes.
So we're good to go. There we go. I wanted to be sure we didn't get disconnected. So tech is not my thing either. Yep. So it's okay.
And I'll let you guys know who are watching as well. Yesterday was our first time coming back to Skype, because that's the only program that works with Ecamm to bring on guests, unless you get a little tech savvy like I did with another feature. But we tested Skype yesterday. I watched the live. We fixed the audio, it sounds like. So if anytime the audio cuts in and out, please let us know in the comments. But pretty much it's out of our hands at this point. It is what it is. So
we'll just roll with it. If having children has taught me anything in life, it's that sometimes you just got to roll with it. So we're good. We're good to go.
Exactly.
Good to go. So and so this is fantastic.
And so I want to know, where are you at now in terms of business? And then let's kind of go back to how you started and got this dream to really happen for you.
Sure. So I'm in my 6th year of business. I launched my business on January 1st, 6 years ago. When I first started, I was just a personal financial coach, and my background is in teaching, so my passion has always been in helping people. And I got into entrepreneurship because I was shoved into it. It was a total accident. I had no aspirations, to ever be an entrepreneur, but I just had enough people encourage me and lead me down this path, so to speak, and just really other entrepreneurs that I'm friends with here. One in particular that just really sat me down and said, this is what you need to be doing. And this is, people will pay you money to help them learn how to budget and get a savings plan in place. And all I'm doing is teaching them what I learned,
right.
and customizing it for their particular goals and needs and whatever it is that they need. So I launched the business and I got my first client at the end of January. So it took about 3 weeks before I got my first paying client, and I've just been rolling from there. And the business has evolved much like anything else that happens in anybody's life, that, an idea is given to you, and I always go, no, I don't think I want to do that. And then like 6 months later, I end up putting an action plan in place and actually making it happen, so it just sort of happens that way. So my business has evolved to where now I am a personal finance coach. I'm a speaker. I wrote and published a book last year. Nice. And this year I'm in the process of scheduling corporate trainings to help employees learn more about personal finance, so that they can, when they're at work, they can focus on their job and not on when the next bill is due, or that they can't take a sick day because they can't afford a sick, all that stuff that comes into play, so that when they're at work, they're 100% focused on work.
I love that. And you guys, even watching the replay, jump into the comments. I asked a few questions. If you have a business, how many years have you guys been in business? And even if you're just getting started, that's okay. You can write that. But what I love about what you said there is that it's been 6 years, and then you shared all of those things. Like, that's a lot.
Yes. None of which was in my business plan when I started 6 years ago. Yeah. So, it just sort of happened that way. So yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing, you guys, it doesn't happen overnight. That's the big part that I want you to take away, because there's so much of this, like, oh, you're an overnight success and you see this cool sports car that somebody posted on their Instagram or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you don't know the story behind all that.
Right.
You don't know if it's rented, leased, or how much debt they're in, because
that's exactly right.
You're just seeing the face value there, So
right.
Really make sure that you understand that it takes time. And like Melissa said, 6 years and all of that stuff. Like that's
yes.
a lot.
Yes, it is a lot. But it's, I love all of it, right? No, I take that back. Like, I didn't love the editing process of going through my book, but that's what I've learned from other authors, is that that's a common thing, just because it's tedious. The editor that I worked with was fantastic and we're friends and all that, but it's just tedious to have to go through and, I got to the point where I was like, if I have to read my own book one more time, but that's where, we had beta readers come in and they read things and caught certain things, or, because my book is a memoir.
Okay.
So because I wrote the book and I know the story, there were gaps in time. So other people that didn't know everything about, again, the background of my whole story, they would come back to me and go, there's a huge leap in between this event and this event. Like, what happened there? And I went, oh, blah, 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 blah. And they would go, well, you need to put that in the book,
yes.
Because not everybody who reads the book is going to know what that gap of time was for. So that part of it was very helpful, but it's tedious at the same time, but it's a needed process to put out a great product, so.
It's so true. And I want to pause on that for a second and remind you guys watching, even replay viewers, that's a huge, huge thing that I want you to all take away for your business. Whether you're starting one, you're running one, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what matters is that you take that piece right there and understand that when you're in it, when you're in the mix, you think that you cover everything, but there's always going to be some gaps.
Right.
And so you always have to have another set of eyes, another pair of ears. Like, literally, I have an amazing support group of people that will sit there and listen to even a quick 30-second or a minute, Facebook Messenger message or whatever. And it's just to bounce ideas off of, or, be in your mastermind groups or whatever you want to call them. But you need to have that support network, because that's where the magic happens as well.
Right. That's exactly right.
And I even, I used to have, my first business actually was, fun fact, I don't know if you guys know this, but my first business was, I created my own magazine. So back in college, while working 2 part-time jobs and finishing up my, senior year, I created a magazine that I did both in print and online and ran it for 2 years. And
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. I have it on the website. I have the digital copies there for people to check out. It was so much fun. Did it make hundreds of thousands of dollars? No. It didn't even make,
but you did it.
Yeah, it didn't make much money. I spent a lot of money on it, but the learning that I got from it and the connections that built up through that time, they're priceless. And
yes.
And during that time, I still had to have, friends, copy editors. I had to have people read and check things over, because when I thought something was done, or I was really just done with it myself.
Right, done with it, right?
you're like, I can't, like you said, I can't read another verse. I can't do any of this.
Right.
Well, that's when you have to have other people. And even when you have other people, you're still going to miss stuff, but at least you're going to miss less, if that makes sense.
Right. Yes, that's exactly right. And, the same, kind of transitioning there. The same is true in managing money.
Yeah.
The one thing that I have found is, obviously in our household, because I'm the financial coach, I do the budget and I handle the money and pay all the bills and stuff like that. But it's important when my husband and I have budget meetings and we talk about money and we talk about the budget, because he's always the one to say, well, what about this? And what about this? And sometimes there's things that I don't think about. And there's some things that, in the very beginning, when we were trying to get out of debt, I was, 99% ready to just sell everything we own, live in a tent, let's get out of debt, and I'm the big dreamer person, and he's the very practical person that kind of brings me back down a little bit and says, okay, let's think through this. Let's process this a little bit, like what's going to happen if we do that? And I go, well, I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out. He's like, no, we're not going to figure it out. We're going to figure, we're going to do some planning, and we're going to do, so that's where, couples can learn to work together in managing money instead of fighting about it all the time. And then a single person needs to have an accountability person, just like you said, like just an extra set of eyes, an extra set of ears to go, well, I don't think you did this math correctly, or how come you're, where I live, golf is really big. So golf becomes a line item in a lot of people's budgets. And sometimes, the golf budget is more than the grocery budget. We might need to rethink that a little bit, and just little things like that, because money is a very emotional thing, and people let the emotion make the decisions instead of letting the logical part of your brain make the decisions. So
now that is a good quote, you guys. Even watching the replay, you quote that from Melissa, because that is a good one. And that's the big thing is money. It is, and you nailed it on the golfing versus shopping. Grocery shopping, because that will happen. And there's a lot of times where and I say I'm talking about myself too, is that
right.
We make our list of bills, but then we forget about maybe the Netflix, or we forget about, those trips to the mall or the movie theater or whatever it may be. But that's still money coming out of your pocket. So you have to account for that.
It is. And the things that people miss most often are quarterly bills.
Yeah.
Bills that are only paid every 6 months, so once a quarter, every 6 months, and then yearly bills. So like, for example,
I love it.
Because we live near the coast, we have flood insurance, but flood insurance is only paid once a year, and it's paid in a lump sum. You're not allowed to say, I need a 12-month payment plan on my flood insurance. And people forget, because you don't pay it. So what I try to teach people is to be proactive instead of reactive. So a thing that I'm working with right now with my clients, and this is a great tip for all the viewers too, is preparing for Christmas for next year.
Yes.
Because you can go back during the last year's shopping season and figure out how much money you spent, and then you can start in January saving that amount of money. So if you spent, $500 or $600 or whatever, then you decide, well, do I really need to spend that? Can I spend less? Do I need to spend more?
Right.
Pick a number, divide that number. I always teach people to divide it like by 10 so that you're not, so that you can like start shopping in October, because we're trying to reduce the amount of stress that happens during the holiday season. So everything gets started early. So you start shopping in October or November, or if you're saving Christmas money month to month, and if you're out shopping someplace in June and you see something that would be a great Christmas present for somebody, you have the money to go ahead and buy it, and then you can just write that down so that that person is already taken care of. So it's just about thinking ahead, always trying to be 2 steps ahead or 3 steps ahead so that you're prepared for things like Christmas, because Christmas happens the same time every year.
Yeah, no, and that's great advice. And I mean, even if you're watching the replay viewers, even if you're watching the replay, how many of you can raise your hand right now and say, like me, that I usually buy after Christmas because that's when all the deals are there.
Right.
And that's usually when I spend money on myself. I try to go all year without spending too much, and then I'll wait till after Christmas because that's when all the best deals are.
Because that's when the deals are, right. Except that, here's another tip.
Yeah.
If you don't have the money, it's not a great deal.
That's
so
a good
you
quote.
have to keep in mind not to get sucked into that mindset that if there's a great meme that goes around on Facebook sometimes that says, I bought a $250 purse for $50, I got a great deal, and it's like, no, you didn't have the $50 to begin with, you're out $50. Like you said, you didn't get a great deal. So it's, you just have to, you have to always kind of have to double check everything. And especially on a big purchase, you always want to sleep on it the night before.
Yeah.
Just to give yourself that pause to decide if you really need it or if it was just an impulse buy or something that you just wanted, or like what's the reason behind your purchase?
Sure.
Is it a keeping up with the Joneses competition type thing? Because you'll never win that, right? And then, or is it something that you really need, or that you've really been saving up for, and you're kind of rewarding yourself for?
No, and that's great. And I love that you mentioned it's not just the monthly bills, it's the quarterlies, it's all of that other stuff, because you guys, I have a spreadsheet where I actually write down all of that stuff, and I put monthly, yearly, every 6 months, every 3 months, whatever those bills are, and then I divide them by,
that's great.
By that, because, like I have dogs. I have 2 dogs.
Right. We have 4.
Yeah. And we have licensing fees, but those are only, I don't know, every 6 months or I forget what it is, but, it's only $25 or whatever, $30. But if I didn't add that into my budget, that's $25 or $30 now that I have to make up.
Right.
Like to add more, so
exactly.
That's really, really important to make sure you guys are doing that work, that you're really listing out every single bill that you have, even if it's just a $2 bill, it doesn't matter, but listing them out, and then listing out when they're due, like monthly, yearly, whatever, and then making sure that you account for all of that. Because I've noticed that even in my business, that's a big one, because it's not just me. It is just me, but I have my personal finances. I have my, consulting finances, which are the business. And then I have my other business, which is Stupid Easy. So I have all of those expenses that I have to keep track of.
Right. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, yes. Yep. And the IRS kind of likes when you keep your business stuff all nice and neat for them. So, you got to keep that up.
It's true. Yeah. And, talking about releasing the pressure and not being so stressed out during the, at the end of the year when you try to go buy Christmas stuff or whatever, it's the same thing. If you put in the time now to, list out everything, and then anytime something changes, you update that, it is so much easier to go throughout the year.
It is.
And now, how do you keep track of your finances? Are you using spreadsheets or?
No. So I go cross-eyed looking at Excel documents.
Yeah.
So it's not the way that my brain works. So I actually have a little spiral. My budget book is right here because, it's getting towards the end of the month. So I'm doing the end of the month thing. So this is just a simple spiral notebook here that you can pick up at any store. And I just took a marker and wrote 2017, 2018 budget book. I mean, this is like high tech right here, right? And I won't show you our actual budget, but we'll just pretend for a minute.
Right.
So what I do is I open the book like this, and on the right-hand side is our household operating budget. So it'll have the income at the top, and I handwrite it out every month. And then on the other side here are my expenses. So I'll have a column for groceries.
Yep.
I'll have a column for gas. I'll have a column for whatever other expenses that are going on. And then down here at the bottom is my notes section. So if for example, last year, I forget which month it was, but I bought new tires for my car. I bought 4 new tires. So over here in the notes section, I just made a note of when I bought 4 new tires so that I know. And it was the first time I had bought 4 new tires on this particular car. So what I'm trying to determine is how long I can go before I have to buy new tires again. And then how much that's going to cost, right? Because buying new tires for a car is not an emergency unless an emergency happens to a tire, right? So it's like, but buying 4 new tires is regular maintenance on the car. But that's how I keep my budget. And the people ask me all the time, why do you keep your budget like that? Well, because in 2010, when we started on our path to get out of debt, I started in a notebook, and that's just the way I've always done it, because it's just easier for me than put everything in a spreadsheet and have to constantly update the spreadsheet. And the other thing is, if my husband at any time needs to take a look at the budget or see bills or whatever, he knows just to come over to my desk and pick up the notebook and flip open to whatever month we're at, or he can look back or he can look forward.
Sure.
Because the February budget's already done. So,
Yeah.
so he can kind of look forward to the February budget and whatnot. And that's very important too, because if you have a spouse or a partner, or if you I've dealt with family units before where the daughter and son-in-law are living with the parents, and like there's all four adults and they all kind of manage the finances together. There's always one person who does everything, right? Because that's how it should be. You kind of appoint one person to all the bills get paid, make sure the budget gets updated, and so on and so forth. But the other people that are involved need to know where all that information is.
Yeah.
So, like, I know at any time, if, God forbid, I end up in the hospital for 5 days,
right,
all my husband has to do is come grab this book, along with, we have another box that has all the important papers in it and whatnot, but he can just pick up. He doesn't have to wonder, well, I don't know what bill is due what day. I don't know how to pay anything. I don't know, because it's all written down in the book.
And that
just makes it easy.
Yeah, that's smart. And being able to think forward again, right? Think ahead that you can do the work, but there's other people that are going to be involved. And so it's nice to have something there as well. And you guys let us know in the comments, and we're going to circle back to a question that popped up. But let us know in the comments, even if you're watching the replay, do you have some kind of system in place, whether it's just writing it in a notebook, using pen and paper, or if you have the envelope trick, or
the envelope system is great. Yeah,
I love that. Or if you're using QuickBooks, or an app, if there's a cool app that you're using, like share that in the comments. One question that came up was, what tips do you have for reducing credit card bills? Example, Example, say for example, you have an extra $400 or $500 to pay towards the debt. Should you spend it around, or spread it around, or put it all in one bill? That's a great question.
That is a great question. There's still like 500 other pieces of information I need to know to really answer that question. But the short answer to that question is, we are proponents of the Dave Ramsey debt snowball system. That's how we got out of debt. So you can Google that, Dave Ramsey debt snowball, so that you can see how it works. And if you're using the Dave Ramsey debt snowball system and you have that extra $400, you put that $400 on whatever your next debt is, rather than trying to spread it around. And what that does is it gives you that mental win that you're winning the getting out of debt game, right? So it just gives you, because you can see $400, boom, well, that makes a big dent in getting rid of debt. The other thing is you have to stop using the credit cards. You cannot get out of debt if you're still digging the hole.
Yeah. You
have to stop digging the hole, which means you have to stop using the credit cards, which means you have to build a budget that works for your family, that works on the premise that you don't have credit cards as an option anymore. You have to live off the income that you have coming in. And once you do that, and once you start paying down the debt, you will eventually erase all of the debt.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I can say for me, when it comes to the, I'll say my experience with the credit card, going back to that question, the experience I had when I had the magazine business, because I put everything on a card just because I prefer one bill at the end of the month. But I'm very aware of the card, and that I try not to, I'm not going to the Bahamas just because I have a card.
Right.
Right. No, it's really,
good job,
it's tempting, but it's not how it works.
Right.
So, and also, by the way, you guys, if the hearts aren't working on your end, something weird is with Facebook. It still shows on my side that the count is there, but I just tried it on my phone and it doesn't show on screen. So you can still heart it up and see what happens.
Cool. Yeah.
But
and just to let you know, I can't see any of the comments or anything that's going on because I have Skype enlarged on my screen. So I appreciate you asking the questions as they're coming in, because I'll be happy to answer any questions.
For sure. So. Yeah. You guys ask whatever questions you have. Going back to the one that we were just talking about, when I had my first business with the magazine, I had probably about, I want to say it was about 20,000 in credit card debt, which, I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot, yes.
I think that it's still manageable in terms of it's one of those limits that it's like 20,000 is a lot. I'm not going to lie, but if you work hard, it's a manageable amount to pay off in a timely manner.
Yes.
And I never had student loans or anything like that, thankfully. So that's was
good.
Yeah, that was a lot for me. And so, I hustled to get that paid off in 2 years. Don't get me wrong. I got it off in 2 years.
Right.
But the way I did it was I paid attention to my cards. I made sure that I knew every single thing that was on my cards. I knew I had, every time I put out a card, I knew that there was a balance on there. So I made sure whatever I was purchasing with that intent.
Yes, good.
And then on top of that, every time when the bills came in, one, I knew that there was going to be a bill.
Right.
And two, I looked at where was the most interest being charged. What had the highest APR percentage, right? And so I would make the minimum balance on all their cards, but put the most money towards the card with the highest balance. Again, situations are all different. So this is just what I did, but that works in terms of being able to pay off the highest interest card first, which means less interest charges. And then I would move on to the next card and see what goes in that. So it's like a little ladder that you work your way down.
Right. And that's similar to the debt snowball method. The debt snowball method, though, you list your debts in order from least to greatest.
Yeah.
And you don't worry about the APR.
Okay.
And the reason for that is if you have a credit card that has a $250, so if your bills are like $250, $500, $700, $5,000, $10,000. But if the $10,000 credit card is the one with the highest APR, it's going to take you forever and a day to pay that off, and you're going to get frustrated and you're not going to stick with it.
Sure.
So you put the smallest one at the top and you get that knocked out and you go, I can actually do this. And then you work on the second one, and then you work on the second one. But the whole time, if the payment on the first card is $10 and the payment on the second card is $25, when the first card's paid off, you take that 10 and you roll it down to the 25. So now you're paying 35. And then you take the 35 and you roll that down to the next. So, for us, we had $43,000 of debt that we paid off in less than 4 years. Nice. And we used this method. And it was amazing to me to see my student loan was the last debt that we paid off. And by the time we got to the bottom of the debt snowball, I mean, we were chunking $1,200, $1,300 a month at that student loan to get it paid off. And it was because every minimum payment just rolled down to the next one. And then whatever extra money we had, we just threw it on the debt. And that's how we got out of debt. But it's all about that emotional win of, hey, I can do this. We're doing it. We're getting it done. Because that's, again, money goes back to it's 80% mindset and 20% math. Like everybody can do math, but people have such a hard time managing money because there's so much psychological stuff that's involved in money. There's so many mindset issues that are involved in money. And that's where I come as a coach to help people learn different strategies to change their mindset and to overcome those psychological obstacles that get caught up, in the money management process. So.
Sure. Yeah. And, you talk about the emotional part, and I think that's a huge one because, you guys can tell me in the comments as well, tell us, but when it comes to, certain situations, you're like, for instance, if you're at the, I'm going to say the mall, but you're at a department store and you're on vacation. Let's say you're on vacation at a department store. You're in LA and you're walking by this store and you're like, okay, that is a sweater. That is a shirt that I need. It looks great. I feel great because I'm on vacation and,
Right.
and I don't have to work and I can just put on a card. And then you realize that it's like $300.
Right.
Now, you have to think twice. Like you said, sleep on it because you're in that moment ready to buy. But then tomorrow when you actually go home or come to your senses, you're going to be like, the heck did I spend $300 for this stupid shirt?
Right. Because you get caught up in the moment you get caught up in the moment. So, and it's very easy to do. And it's a discipline to take that step back and go, no, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to wait. It'll be fine. Like I don't, cause that's the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing that, I have to have the latest and the greatest and the next best thing and and there's a lot of conversations that even, we're 8 years now into our debt-free journey. It took us almost 4 years to get out of debt. And then we've been debt-free since we got out of debt in the first place. And there's a lot of conversations about, well, why do you drive a 2009 car that has 159,000 miles on it? Like you could go get a newer car because you can afford a payment now. I'm like, right, but we don't afford payments anymore, so we save up money and we pay cash for our car. So I don't have a car payment so that I have that money to put in the bank. So why pay myself a car payment every month? So that when my car is ready to either be traded in or, cause I don't know how long I'm going to drive that car.
Yep.
But once I have the money saved up in the bank, then I can start thinking about, well, I might go start looking for a car, just kind of see, but we're talking $10,000-$15,000 in the bank. I mean, I'm saving $50,000 for a car, so it's, and once you get to the point where we obviously my husband and I have income coming in, our expenses are considerably less than our income because we don't have debt anymore. The only debt we have is our mortgage. Right. So we have our mortgage, we have our general household bills that we cover. And so we have that ability to save cash to make a car payment, or to, pay cash for the car. But what I tell people is if you would pay off your car and then immediately take whatever car payment you were making and have that put on auto draft out of your checking account into a savings account, not even think about it because that money was already assigned to a car payment. So let's keep it as a car payment, but now you're paying the car payment to yourself and it's earning interest in your bank account. I mean, not a lot, but It's earning interest in your bank account. So there is the opportunity to be able to do things like that, which, I get where people are coming from because before we started this whole process, if you had told me that I could pay cash for a car, I'd be like, I'm not Fred Flintstone. Right. Like I'm not driving that kind of a car, And so just the thought of paying cash for a car was a completely foreign concept to me. But the interesting is this brings up a story. So my oldest son is 12 and my youngest son is 11 and we have a lot of money conversations with them because they were 5 and 4 when we started this process. So we were talking about something and he said, do people pay cash for like a house? And I went, yes, they do. And he went, no, I don't mean like a tiny house. I mean like a house because we have conversations about tiny houses and all. And I said, well, yes. And I said, when you turn 16, if you took a certain percentage of your income when you get a job and you put it in a savings account and you save that money for 10 or 15 years, you could pay cash for a house. And he just kind of stopped for a second. And even like, because I know these things, right? Because I've seen people call into the Dave Ramsey show and they've said they paid cash for a house. So I know it's possible. But to say that out loud to my 12-year-old is like, wow, seriously, like when you're 30, you could pay cash for a house, like that's awesome, but it's just that what I always tell people is being debt free gives us the option to take advantage of opportunity.
Yes.
So instilling that in our children is very important so that they know that money doesn't have to be the thing that stands in their way of what they want to do. That our conversations now are, well, these are the things I want to do. How are we going to make it happen? Instead of, this is what I want to do, and then going, oh, well, that'll never happen.
Right.
So it's a different, and again, it's all about what goes on up here.
Oh, yeah.
It has nothing to do with adding and subtracting. It's all about what goes on up here and just finding ways to make it happen. So
I love that. And you guys, that's a big thing to take away. Like, let us know in the comments, even if you're watching the replay, what's one thing that you took away from this episode. But really, that's what you have to focus on is, if you're in debt, you're already there. That it is what it is. But now you can take something from this episode and be able to apply it. You can, even if you think that you can't, there's probably something that you missed, whether it was you're listing out your bills, or maybe you can separate from, your Netflix bill or whatever it may be, pick and choose whatever works for you. But point is that whether you have debt now or not, you still can put these things into place. And I'll share with you guys that I actually have, I have, business credit card debt, just a little, not much, that I pay off every month. And with that, I also still have a $50 automatic withdrawal that goes into a savings account that I don't pay attention to. I literally have that every month be taken out of my account.
Right.
Now, some might say, well, Ed, why don't you just put that $50 towards your credit card bill? That way you can pay it off faster.
Yep.
Now, I could, and I have thought of that.
That's an option, yes.
But I decided not to because I didn't want to break my routine. Because the minute that I stop, at least for me, the minute I stop that $50 withdrawal transaction, I now am giving myself permission to put that $50 anywhere else I want, and probably not going to put it back on to that account.
And it all comes down to the discipline. And I'll share an excellent story with you that I had yesterday. So as you know, because we're friends on Facebook, I'm in the midst of planning another epic Elton John adventure.
Yes.
And my friend said to me, she goes, well, you're going to be doing all this traveling and you're going to be getting flights and all this stuff. She goes, why don't you just go get a credit card and put all your expenses on a credit card and earn your flight miles, and then your flights or hotels and everything will be free? And I looked at her and I said, logically, that would make a lot of sense. But for me, getting a credit card is like giving a recovering alcoholic an invitation to walk into a bar, because the bulk of our debt was credit card debt. And I don't, even this many years later, I don't trust myself to have that credit card, because it's too easy to go, oh, the minimum payment is only blah, blah, blah. I'll just pay that next month. It'll be no big deal, and not have that discipline in place to be able to pay it off like you're supposed to. Because, people argue with me all the time about having credit cards. If you want to have a credit card to get the miles to whatever, that's fine. But you have to pay it off every single month. And then your budget has to reflect the fact that you have the money in the bank to pay it off at the end of every month. And that in itself is a discipline. And I know many people that do that, but I also know many people that don't do that, which is why I have a business as a financial coach. Right? So, to get into that, so I just say, you know what? I know that makes sense. Like, logically in my head, that makes sense. That's exactly what I should do. I should be getting free hotel stays and free airline miles and all this other kind of stuff. But I can't run the risk of abusing that, right? And getting back into bad habits, because I look at things like this. My habits and my mindset with money are 8 years old.
Yeah.
I had to overcome 20 years of bad habits with money to get out of debt. And this new mindset that I have and this new way of managing money, I've only been doing this for 8 years. Right. So I look at the way I handle money like an 8-year-old. And I think about how my boys were when they were 8. They still needed a lot of instruction and consequences and all that, all that sort of So that's just sort of the way that I look at things. And I just say, you know what, it's not worth it to me to get the credit card, to get the miles, to get the points, to whatever, to open that door to get back into bad habits.
And that is an important piece to know too, because like you said, you don't want to give somebody who has a drinking problem the bottle. Like that's a great connection there. And that's what we have to understand. And I'm kind of the same way in terms of, I would have said, like, why aren't you using the card to get the points if you know you're going to pay it off? But
you're going to.
You have to know yourself, and that's why for me, I don't use ATM cards because I don't want to keep track of every single purchase on my checkbook and make sure that the check cleared. That's not me. Like, I can't stand that. I want it on the credit card. I know what I'm buying, and I make sure that I look at it constantly, and then I pay it off every month.
Yes.
Minus some business stuff right now, but I'm aware of it.
Yes.
For that part of it. So yeah, no, it's really great. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being here and for sharing those tips with us. Anything else that you want to wrap up before I let you head over to the comments, to the after party and hang out with people?
To the after party, yeah. No, I just want to thank you for having me on. This was super fun, and just the opportunity to share a little bit of my story and to give people some perspective that they can pursue their dreams and they can do what they want to do. It just takes some discipline. And for people who don't know, I'm a huge Elton John fan, and I went to my first concert when I was 19 years old. I've been to 38 concerts in 26 years.
Wow.
So I've been pursuing my dream to meet Elton John in person since I was 19 years old. So 26 years. So don't give up. So when people come to me and they say, like, what's your biggest piece of advice? I always tell them, do not give up. Like, it's okay to take a step back and evaluate and reevaluate, because you don't want to keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, right? You have to do things differently. But to just not resign yourself to say, oh, this will never happen or this will never happen. You just have to be creative sometimes. You have to use your resources. Sometimes you have to reach out to people and say, hey, who do you know who knows this? Because this is what I need, and can you do this for, can you do this or whatever? Like, this is what I need to have happen, and I need somebody who can help me. And I think people will find that as they start putting themselves out there and they start asking for help, that there are people that are more than willing to say, oh, well, you just have to do this and you just have to do that. And because it's stuff that you would never think about on your own, but somebody else always has an answer that you might need. But you have to keep, it's like kind of like a spider web. You just kind of have to keep networking around until you get what you need. And then you always have to either return the favor directly to that person or to somebody else, right? Because that's how the universe works, right? So it's a continuous system of people help people, or just always be giving, because it always comes back to you over and over and over again. So yeah.
So true. Thank you so much. Drop in the comments, engage with people, and share your links over there too.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Ed.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
You guys, how awesome is that? That is what we're talking about. That's why I love being able to bring on guests to share their knowledge. I'm sure Melissa's going to be back on the show because that's such great advice, and we can dive deeper into certain situations. So obviously share in the comments, even if you're watching the replay, any questions you might have. Then we can try to bring Melissa back on the show and answer those live for you. But that's really what it's about, is being able to just know that it's possible. Whatever your situation is, it's possible, and you're going to need to ask for help. You're going to have to find those resources, right? And that's why it's important to know who's around you and to ask those questions and to go outside your comfort zone and ask for that help, okay? Feel free to drop into the comments any apps that you might be using to help you. I know Mickey had said she's using Stash, and that's been a good one for her. I've heard that going around a lot. So just browse through the comments, drop a comment, but browse through and see what people are saying, what they're using. That will at least get you started, right? And definitely check out Melissa's site. She'll pop that into the comments as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. Have a fantastic weekend, and I can't wait to see you back here Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're tuning in. Take care. This episode is sponsored by Stupid Easy. Easily create, share, and sell your online courses. Discover more at stupideasy.com.